Hey everybody, Jen Jodwin here, Advanced Holistic Nutritionist with Healthy Living with Jen J. I am on here today to just talk a little bit quickly about iron and our children, actually. For this month of August, I do want to be focusing a lot more on providing you a lot of information about child nutrition, and particularly as we head into, back to school after the last 6 months of having our world just totally changed and flipped upside down. As we start to look at what our new world brings us, I just want to make sure that you are prepared and have the most information that you can have available to protect our children. Okay, so today, children and iron. Okay, iron is considered a macro mineral. Okay, meaning that it is one of the top 6 important minerals that our bodies require on a daily basis, but it's also one of the most commonly deficient minerals in just the general population, regardless of our eating habits. And this is in part because it is so poorly absorbed by the body. For example, in the standard American diet, so just eating processed foods and high protein foods, and just lack of general intention in healthy eating, the standard American diet, like a person consumes an average of 20 milligrams of iron daily, and yet only zero point 0.5 to 4 grams are actually absorbed. So it's a very poor absorption rate. But iron is really important in our bodies. It's responsible for forming red blood cells, transporting oxygen and carbon dioxide throughout our body, even maintaining healthy skin pigmentation, regulating our body temperatures, increasing our focus, and even actually reducing irritability. Deficiencies in iron usually manifest as, tiredness, fatigue, weakness, irritability, of course, and even shortness of breath. Now, in terms of iron, this is where some people get a little bit confused or not too sure where to get their sources, but essentially there are two forms of iron, okay? So there is heme iron, and this comes from an animal-based source, and there is non-heme iron, which comes from plant-based sources. In general, heme iron is more readily absorbed by our body, and this is in part due to the high levels of fiber in plant-based sources. So the fiber is thought to actually interfere with some of the absorption of iron in a plant-based source. So if your children's main source of iron is from a plant-based source, you should aim to provide, I would say, like 1.8 times the recommended daily requirements to ensure that enough iron is actually being absorbed. Now, the absorption of iron is regulated by our current iron blood pools, but our bodies will generally only absorb the amount of iron that we actually require to top up our stores. So if you are supplementing iron, this is something that you should be cautious of, and understand that taking a higher dose of iron is not always better, because a lot of it will just be wasted. You're really only just absorbing what is required. And because iron supplements can actually interfere with the healthy effects of vitamin E, it's important to only supplement iron when directed by a doctor due to low levels of iron shown in a serum test, so in a blood test, okay? Otherwise, you should really be aiming to get your iron levels from whole food, real food, okay? Now, in terms of infancy, there are rice cereals that are fortified with iron, so this is a really great option as a first food for your children. Cereals can be combined with, breast milk, which is also very high in iron and actually has the highest level of absorption rate. Infants actually absorb about 50% of the iron in breast milk, as opposed to if you looked at, say, cow's milk, the absorption rate is only 10%. So either mixing these fortified cereals with, breast milk or even infant formula to get the right texture and consistency for your child will really help boost their iron stores in the beginning. And then other foods that are suitable for, weaning your children that would be high in iron would be things like potatoes, other fortified cereals, so not just rice cereal, but other fortified cereals, pulses such as peas, beans, lentils, tofu, ground nuts and seeds, such as like a nut butter, and fruit. Okay, so The reason we are adding fruit or vegetables, so apples, bananas, carrots, sweet potato, butternut squash, these can be used for two things, okay? To sweeten the foods that are high in iron. So we don't want to be adding sugar or artificial sweeteners, but this will help sweeten those other foods so that they're more palatable, more enjoyable for your infant as they begin to develop taste buds and enjoy other foods. But also because these foods are high in vitamin C, and eating vitamin C with foods high in iron is going to enhance iron absorption within the intestinal tract. So foods high in vitamin C should be included at every mealtime. Um, but when you're looking at plant-based foods that are high in iron, so there are the the beans, the lentils, the tofu, edamame, which is just soybeans. But there's also dark green leafy veggies. There are breads, um, even whole grains, so such as wild rice, farro, spelt. These can also contain high levels of iron. And then, of course, looking at nuts and seeds, so pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, and of course, their corresponding nut butters. These are also all high in iron, really great sources. Um, but also there are some dried fruits that also have good sources of iron. So apricots, figs, prunes, and of course, because these are high in vitamin C, you're more likely to have a good source or a good absorption rate of these. Okay, so there are of course other vitamins and nutrients and minerals that are important to children. Today, I really just wanted to talk about iron. But children who are brought up on a plant-based diet require basically 2 to 3 servings of vegetable proteins or plant-based proteins each day in order to meet the requirements of iron and, of course, to meet their protein requirements as well. So generally, if your children are meeting their protein requirements, then they are also meeting their iron requirements unless there is an absorption issue. But we're going to be talking about protein on another day. Of course, I would like to say if you are feeding your children nuts and seeds, be cautious if they are under the age of 5. They are choking hazards, so you're more likely to use finely ground ones or offering a smooth nut butter to avoid choking. If you have any questions about iron in your children, or you'd like to actually know more, please leave a comment below. Otherwise, please give me a thumbs up and share this video if you found it helpful. Thank you all for watching. I will be back on in a couple of days with some more information for you. Have a great day.